Hello folks, welcome back to the Forge. Well, it's been a while since I made a video. I've been busy with the recent Thanksgiving holiday here in the US. And well, dealing with doctors, but it is what it is. Working on Christmas orders, so my time is also limited by that, but I thought I'd get out here today and just kind of go back to my roots a little bit. I'm going to forge a blade today that is probably the simplest type of blade, in my opinion, to forge. Just a simple little knife, more or less straight handle. Blade just has a little curve on the edge. Just going to do something quick and simple today. Maybe somebody out there that wants to start can take some tips from this and work on a blade like it themselves. If you are a beginner and you forge one like this, hey, I'd like to see pics of it. Anyway, this is pretty much what we're going to be using. It's just a little scrap piece of 1084 high carbon steel, 3/16 thick. Oh, I don't know, 5.5 inches long, probably 1 inch on one end, 1.25 inches on the other. Let's get it hot and smack it a few times. And there's Sable the Forge Cat. She's keeping me company out here today. So let's get started. Of course, the first thing we're going to do is forge out a point. And this steel was not an even width. It was kind of wider on this end, so I'm just forging down the wide end to make my point. It's going to be a fairly small blade, fairly short knife. And you can probably hear my dog barking in the background. He's not happy right now about something, but he'll be okay. Anyway, got our point drawn out. Need just a little more. Work our width down, and we're going to start working in a backwards curve. And we're going to start knocking down right there. That's going to be our choil between the blade and the handle. Knock it down to the appropriate width. Now, as I do, that metal gains thickness, so I have to go back and knock it back down to the proper thickness. I want to keep the thickness fairly uniform. Not looking for much distal taper in this handle, because it's going to be kind of a short handle, so it's okay if it doesn't have much distal taper in it. Let's forge our handle out. Going to keep everything about this blade as simple as we can. This is exactly the kind of blades I used to forge when I first started. So we're just going to keep this nice and simple. Just what I'd call a beginner style blade. Use our brush, keep the scale off the handle. Forge it down flat. Going to planish out our hammer marks. Make sure our thickness is uniform. Switch to the smaller handle to get all the hammer marks out. It's actually looking pretty good, but maybe we need one more pass. Nah, it's good enough. Let's work on the blade. I'm going to use the edge of the anvil. I'm bringing the steel right to the edge so that I don't hit the edge of my anvil as I'm striking at an angle to establish my bevel. And as you can see, that starts to straighten the blade. As hammering the bevel stretches the steel, it starts to straighten the spine of the blade. And that's going to become more pronounced as we move out toward the tip. And you can see how that's really starting to sweep the tip of that blade up. It's because I haven't put in much distal taper yet. Now I'm going to start working in a little distal taper after I clean the slag off with a brush. And I'm also dressing the bevel. It's about time to think about starting to work our hammer marks out. So we'll get the smaller hammer. Just planishing at a fairly low heat, taking out the hammer marks. Working on taking out the hammer marks. Get that bevel where I want it. Not too bad. Let's straighten that blade out a little. That striking on the anvil like that causes the blade to bend down, which will bring it more in line with the handle. Just give it a quick brush up. Now, since we were doing a very simple type blade, I'm just going to straighten things up. The forging's not perfect. The first few knives I made weren't perfect. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to mark out what looks good. And I'm going to go to the grinder and clean this thing up. There's no shame in using a grinder. I can forge to finish. But just to show you there's nothing wrong with using a grinder, we're going to the grinder. Okay, so we got it finished up. There it is. Still got to anneal it, drill the holes in it. But as you can see, that's just a simple knife design. Nothing fancy, very straightforward, but very, very serviceable. Big enough to handle most in-the-field game chores. Don't need a great big knife. Big knives just get in the way when you're trying to dress out game. So, good size to carry on the belt. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure and hit that like button, subscribe for future content. Thanks very much for watching. God bless and have a great day.